I'm Gilles Jobin, and we are here at the CERN in Geneva, Switzerland, the biggest experiment in the world in particle physics. And I'm a resident choreographer. I've been here for a couple of weeks now, and I'm doing a 3 months residency under the program called Collide at Art.
And okay, Gilles, and tell us a little bit of how is it going, and what does it mean in this context, to be a choreographer also in residency at CERN?
Well, that's a big question, really.
Yeah, like three in one.
That's really what I'm thinking about, is what I am doing here. I think it's really interesting to be, first of all, to be in the lab, such a gigantic lab. You know, it's one of the most advanced lab in the world. So it's really, you know, all the people that are here are really next level physicists and engineers. They're really on top of their game. So there's a very high level of analysis and experiments, and also the nature of what they do here is really mind-blowing. And every time you speak with someone, it's just like they go so deep, you know, in the understanding of you know, the creation of the universe, the matter. You know, it's just an amazing intellectual environment, really. And for me as a choreographer, of course, you know, choreography is about space and time. It's about movement. So I think there's many connections that can be found. And what is really interesting about this program, I think, is really about inspiration. So really what they ask me to do is to try to capture inspiration from what I have around me. And it's not about illustrating science, or it's not about making a production. It's really about fundamental research. And this is really not usual for us, I think, choreographers.
Yeah, and one of the things that can be interesting also is you know, this relationship with imagination in a way, because a lot of the things you know, is this very different scales, and that practically they work. I would say that they work in a very similar realm that a lot of artists, or I speculate about that. And what do you think?
Well, I mean, here the level of abstraction is huge. I mean, you know, they're just dealing with the invisible most of the time. So it's beyond what you can see. So you need to find strategies to capture all those events that they create in the Large Hadron Collider. And also you have all those theoretical physicists that are really, you know, up front of what is the, you know, thinking about, you know, creation of the universe and the matter. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's difficult because, you know, as artists we are much more subjective in what we do, and here it's really about being objective. But inspiration, I think, is something that we share. I mean, as a scientist, you need also to have inspiration and intuition. And also what is, I mean, here people are super passionate, very passionate about what they do, and this is really beautiful to be with some, you know, such a large, I mean, we're talking about probably 15,000 people on the site. Yeah. And half of the quantum physicists in the world are here in Geneva, you know, all time through the year. So it's you know, it's just an amazing environment of concept. And what is my position, and the thinking, do a bit of catching up on physics, you know, to know what I'm talking about. I mean, what they're talking about. Yeah. I don't know, it's just, you know, here, let's say that you're interested in gravity, and you can find super specialist of gravity. So if you have questions, you can really get real answers. You know, they're not like just like poetical answers or philosophical answers. They will be like really what is the reality of the mechanic of, you know, how gravity works, for instance. So if I really want to know, like really, I will find people that can help me with this. And on, you know, antimatter. They create antimatter here, and they recreate the, you know, 1 millisecond after the creation of the universe, the condition 1 millisecond after the Big Bang. So, you know, you can really go into when you ask something, you get proper answers, and this is also again unusual for us in the artistic world, where everything has many layers and many meanings, and here you can really get really precise, and then it's very inspiring because it's just very interesting concepts.
Yeah. And what have been the challenges for you about being here?
Well, the main challenge I had so far was to make an opening lecture, in front of a few geniuses and the general director and all these webcasts, throughout the world. So that was quite a challenge for me to articulate my work in a different way than I'm used to. So I tried to analyze, the way I conceive pieces, what is my structure, what kind of system I use. It kind of helped me to deconstruct my work. The name of my talk was Deconstruct and Scale, and I think that's what I'm doing now. I'm kind of deconstructing my practice, my choreographical practice in terms of systems, in the way I generate movements, to explain it, really. So now for me the challenge is to articulate my work so I can present it to the people I get to meet, the chance to meet here, and see if they can help me with some ideas on kind of precise questions I have.
Yes. And what do you think that then, let's say, it will be a challenge for them, or what can you offer? Because in the interview that I have with the director of the program, there is also this important role of bringing a stimulation to the scientists through the art. It's not just in one direction.
Well, that's a little bit hard for me to say. People here are not necessarily specialists in art or specialists in contemporary dance. So I guess for them the challenge is to understand what I'm doing and the way I function and what is choreography, what is contemporary dance. So that's already maybe a challenge for them. But this is, I think, is what is to be discovered, and we have this final lecture in October. So I guess that's when we will get to some conclusion on that. It's very difficult for me because all those people, they're humans and they're very different, and they work in very different fields. You have engineers, you have physicists, theoretical physicists, experimentalists. They all have different issues, different characters, different way of doing things. So in their practice, this is really what is to be discovered, I guess.
Yeah, but like after the lecture, I noticed that there were actually these interesting surprises for some of the physicists, that they were kind of intrigued by some procedural aspects of your work, or they were understanding what is this kind of new choreography or new choreographic tools that you were presenting that were new also for them.
Yeah, well, I think people in general, they don't necessarily know what is a choreographer, or they have some kind of idea of what is a choreographer. Is you make dances that you see on TV, or people don't necessarily know that we work in such a constructive way, of building and generating movements. I talk about movement generators or organically organized movement, which is the way I call my practice, So I think that's for them is surprising to see that it's so deconstructed and constructed as well. That is not just like a feeling, like a dancing on the music, for instance.
Yeah.
So I think but what is really great here is that they understand very quickly because they are very, very eager to learn, and they really love to learn new things. It's like their culture is about learning new stuff and discovering, and very curious. And they are equipped, intellectually to understand concepts and structures and models. So for them is very, they don't get lost, Maybe it's a bit too general. Because art, of course, is everywhere. It has a function, and I think it's recognized at least in Western world. Even contemporary art. and science is useful, you know, it has really application out
Yeah,
of,
or it's kind of
you
more
know.
direct, or we see it clearly, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I mean, the machine you're filming with,
Yeah.
you know, just the capture that you have inside are just what they have down there at the LHC, just a slightly different model, you know, a bit bigger. But that's what they do. They just capture particles and light. So I think sometimes it's more difficult to see a proper, a real, you know, an application in art, and sometimes people only see, you know, entertainment as a possible application. But art make us think and make us, you know, is a reflexive thing that is necessary, I think. So, you know, it's the search, you know. I think we are animals interested in searching. We need to search for something. So we're always curious. We are very curious type of animals.
Yeah.
So, and we are the same, you know, scientists and choreographers. That's we are the same. We live in the same planet. The world is a unique opportunity. And as an artist, of course, but also as a citizen of Geneva, because I live here. So I wish every citizen of Geneva would have this opportunity, because we need to know what's going on. And I live up there, on the other side of the lake, just over there. Okay, well, you know, research in contemporary dance, for us, research is part of the production process. You know, what is always kind of new, or we want to discover new path. So of course we always are searching for new things, but what we are not used is to have really like only research that doesn't end up into a production. So that's for me is in 15 years of careers the first time I really get 3 months about really questioning my practice and how I generate movements. So this is really new for me to have to construct to analyze in such a way, you know, and like an investment for the future that is, I don't know when I will use what I'm doing here. Normally I always kind of need to search, and then I need to stop searching because I need to build, because you know the premiere is coming.
Yeah,
That's it.
to be presented.
I have to get real. You know, there's one moment you have to stop research to produce the product, which is the piece that you're making. So it really opens a new understanding of thinking about my work and just work in general. But for them, in science is very usual. I mean, science is about research. So that's also, I think, something I will learn from them, to see that it's, you know, it's okay to do fundamental research. It's something that they do, you know, all the time, and is very important for them, even though we know that they also struggle for funding, and there's also some questioning at times, you know, do we need to fund research, what are they doing, and this, you know,
Or they need to wait for the Nobel Prize prize
exactly, they probably
application.
have the same stigma than we can have, you know, like, oh, you know, it's just like consuming money to research on useless concepts, you know, but still, you know, they get a pretty funky lab here at CERN.
Assembling and testing RF cavities. So the thing that gives the kicks in the programs.
One that I think is really interesting for a dancer is gravity, of course. Gravity is, I discovered that is a very weak force. I thought it was, you know, it's one of the only forces that we can really feel. But actually it's not that strong. Actually what is really strong is what holding us together. It's an electromagnetic force that's holding the matter together. And that's really something that you cannot take apart. So that somehow is changing my idea of how the body is in space. Because I thought, you know, that we are just like pile of stuff piled on top of each other, matter just piling up and making a
Pulled
body,
down by the gravity.
and pulled down by the gravity. And it's not like this really. We're just, okay, we're holding on that planet, but that planet is moving. The matter of the planet is also made of atoms. So all this is moving very quickly into space. So we are kind of stardust flying into space in constant movement. So I have a sense that is a different approach to dance, you know, because I was trained as I did ballet, I did contemporary dance. Ballet is about, you know, pushing up and being balanced, up, and is about balance, and contemporary dance is about being grounded. And now realize that there is something in the middle, and the dynamic also is quite interesting. I mean, there's those principles they have around here, to think about how you move, the energy and inertia, and I think there is many things around that can be really useful in the way you think about your body, and maybe if you think differently about your body, it might move differently. You might consider it differently. Also, we have very subjective image of our body. It's like a mental, internal image. So I have the sensation that this will change my practice, especially that I'm now very much into movement, a lot of movement. So I think that will be very interesting. And the other thing I'm really interesting to talk about is what I call movement generators, which is try to find system that can generate movement based on instructions or. There's many systems I've been using already for myself, but I'm kind of guessing that if I come up with I explain what I do and how I do it to theoretical physicists or some specialized people in gravity or antimatter, they might say, you should think about that, or what about this behavior, or what about this characteristic of behaviors that you could apply, So now what I'm interested to do is to present my work and then see if someone comes up with some ideas and get into a dance studio, and with a physicist or an engineer, and see if we can translate this into the dancer's body, because there's also always this question is how, body is a mind and the brain of the dancer, so you have to see how things can be adapted. So I think that's what really interests me.
Cool. And there is also this inspirational partnerships with Joao Pequeña here.
Yes.
And then can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, this is really the little genius part of this project, and I must say that it's very, very well done. I mean, all the preparation process, I had 2-day seminars, and I met 7 people, really amazing, different people, theoretical physicist, this young guy, looking for exotic particles, and they all explain me what they do, some I got, some I didn't get, but so it's really well organized in the way that they really feed you with information, and it's really designed, specifically for this space. So then part of the project is to have what they call an inspirational partner, and this is, as it says, is someone that is here to help you, to support you, to inspire you, to put you in contact with other people, to guide you, and we're supposed to have regular conversation, at least once a week, blog, write a little bit about our experience, and just exchange ideas. And in the case of Joao, it's very interesting because he's a trained physicist, but what he does is a visualization of data, really. So he make this really amazing kind of animation of particle colliding or electron traveling, and so he has this kind of double-sided thing. He's a scientist, but he's also into translating things into the visible, making the invisible visible. So I think that's something that probably we share. And also he's a charming person and very dynamic. So he's always also very and he's a judoka, so he's very physical as well. So we're just starting, so it's difficult to see what's going to come out of it. But what I can say already is that we get along pretty well.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, and I think that this is very exciting.
Stay tuned for more.
Yes. Thank you very much.